Welcome back to a gloomy day in the great state of Ohio. It's about 20 degrees outside, mid-February. Not too terribly bad, but still a little bit cold. I am being kept alive today by this Boulderton jacket that Sportsman's Guide sent forward. If you guys want more information on this, this is a pretty nice jacket. I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description box down below where you guys can go check it out if you guys are feeling the winter chills as well. But today we're going to be doing another one. Pause for effect. AR versus AK video. And I know that these things have been beat to death, but I think I got a little bit different spin on it. I was in a conversation with a friend, and basically I was wondering what the lockup difference between an AR bolt and an AK bolt is, centered around a lot of different factors. But what I've gone ahead and done is I've taken the blue die chem that I normally use for analyzing AK lockup, and I've applied it to both an AR bolt and an AK bolt. We're going to shoot them both, see what the lockup surface looks like, throw them into Photoshop, and see what kind of inferences we can draw from the data that we take. For our AK today, we're going to be using this beautiful Stormtroopered out AK-47's. This is a Hungarian build. As you can see, I've clearly done some cosmetic upgrades to this particular thing and some functional stuff out here with the Midwest Industries rail. I have a full video out on this thing that I'll have linked in the description box down below. But the reason I chose this one is this is, at least to my knowledge, the most correct AK internally, functionally, that I have access to right now. So what we're going to do is I've got some Red Army Standard, the purple sealant stuff right there in a Magpul 30. We're just going to go ahead and run through all 30 of these rounds. Here we go. Oh, there's a branch in the way. I'm gonna get a little bit shorter here. Here we go. This gun apparently needs re-zeroed. However, what I will say is I absolutely love the feel of these underfolders. They typically knock my hearing protection off when I've got like a standard AK kind of combed stock, if you will. And I really like the underfolders because it allows me to get my cheek lower, and then can also use lower pro optics like this primary arms that we have on here. Well, that concludes the shooting component of the AK. We'll go ahead and meet you guys back at the shop with this thing. Go get the AR. So for our AR representation today, we have an MI-15F. This is a Midwest Industries factory gun. I've made a few changes to it as well. Starting from the front, I've got a rugged suppressor mount up there on front for my for integration with my Surge. I've changed the charging handle to the Freedom Bone, which is now the Radiant Weapons thing. Basically rediverts the gas for suppressor stuff because this is one of our suppressor hosts. And then obviously some cosmetic upgrade letting everybody know where I stand. The ammo that we're going to be shooting today is Fiocchi 223A. Standard stuff that we always use. This is the green box stuff you find at shelf at Walmart. And feeding out of a blue C Products magazine. So here we go. 30 rounds down the pipe. This gun is dirty. Here we go. Try a different target here. How about this guy? Shoot through the crook. And locks back on the last round. What we'll go ahead and do is we'll go ahead, run back to the shop, strip these things apart, and do a comparison between the two. So first things first, here are the lugs that we're talking about. First on the AK, and as you can see, there are these two areas on the sides, and now the AR. You can see that the lugs are much smaller and more numerous on the AR than they are on the AK. Now what we're actually going to care about for this video is the effective lockup area, the area that is actually being used to lock the bolt, and that's represented here by the cleaned areas that are that have been wiped clean through mechanical operation of the die chem. As a disclaimer, I set these shots to be up the exact same scale so that we could use them to measure fairly accurately in Photoshop. First, we'll do a qualitative comparison between the surfaces of the AR and the AK. And that shows us that we do indeed have a larger effective lockup area on the AK. Speaking simply, I would think that it is reasonable to suppose that the AK would be better at handling the torment of being fired, especially when you normalize this for the pressure numbers, the 5.56 being a higher pressure round. If that is the case, though, then why do we see things like this out of AKs, and very rarely do we see lug deformation on the AR-15? It's not to say that lug deformation doesn't occur on ARs, it's just not as prolific as some of the things that we see in normal AKs. Well, the answer to this is really quite simple. If we look at the orientation of the lugs around the bolt face on the AK, we can see that we have a very narrow band of lockup, constituting a very small percentage of the circumference of the bolt. Conversely, if we look at the orientation of the lugs on the AR bolt, while smaller, they do take up a significantly larger proportion of the circumference of the bolt than that of the AK. So ultimately, what that results in is, though the lugs are smaller on the AR-15, we have a larger distribution area because we are using the entire circumference of the bolt instead of those two narrow bands on the trunnion. Now, if you want to understand why this occurred, it's quite simple as well. The AK was designed like roughly 20 years before that of the AR. And we have gone on to understand that that kind of orientation, if you look at many modern firearms, use smaller lugs and more numerous lugs surrounded around a greater circumference of the bolt, effectively increasing the lockup area. Now, the problem with the AR, though, is because those small little spaces exist and they have to work in relatively close concert with each other, getting the gun super dirty leads to reliability issues long term, whereas the AK, big, bulky surfaces basically have eliminated those small areas that could be more affected by dirt and grime. So when we translate that to effectiveness and long-term durability, while the AK has this fabled indestructibility, if you will, very rarely, if ever, have I seen AR-15 bolts disintegrate or locking lugs on AR-15 chambers disintegrate at the level that we see AKs do this. And really that just goes down to the philosophy of manufacture and use. Look at many guns of the era that are centered around the time the AK was designed, and you can see that a lot of guns of that time period use two locking lugs that are directly opposed to each other, and that's just kind of the way that the Soviets did things. They continued with the trend. The Eugene Stoners of the world completely changed the way that we conceptualized locking guns up when he came out with his design using the star chamber, which was decried as some kind of weird space age thing that would never work. And now it has become the standard measure that we use here in the United States to determine how a gun should be manufactured, as evidenced by the market numbers. So I understand this video probably pissed a whole bunch of people off, and that's okay. Let me know that I did in the comment section down below. I'd love to have a boisterous debate with you over this, but the bottom line is I am a huge AK fanboy. I probably shoot more 7.62x39 every year than I shoot 5.56, and that is reciprocal for the amount of times I shoot an AK versus an AR style rifle. The only difference being we have Mark 47 Mutant here, which is technically an AR, but again, it's chamber 7.62x39. But I think that if we're honest about this situation, the reason that the AK rose to such prominence when it did is because AR-15s became unobtainable for such a long period of time. There was an issue with parts supply. Now the market is caught up, and now the typical AR is less than the typical AK. And the reason that is all the import bans and issues with that sort of stuff that have surrounded and kind of basically dampened the market a little bit. And just like things like the Mosin Nagants, the rifle, the bolt action rifle that you get, the cheap surplus ammo. I mean, I bought my first one for like $100, right? That
point in time where AKs were $400 no longer exists. Like that, those days are done and gone. And you have to understand that to get a quality AK these days, you can't even spend in the $600 range, right? I mean, the Wasser 10s are even, I think, $650, $700, something like that. So if you're looking at that kind of price point, you have to understand that you're getting a rifle of quality that you aren't paying the $1,500 price point, and you're recouping those funds in time of the user to keep up with the gun, making sure that it stays in headspace, monitoring the lugs, make sure that they're not prematurely degrading because of some metallurgy issues that existed because they were trying to pump them out in Europe as quickly as they possibly can, because they got a taste of capitalism. What we've done now is we've created a situation where the AK and the AR have flipped places. Now the AR is the rifle that you can get for $500-$600 and have a pretty decent rifle. It used to be that you go to the store, spend $350, and you had an AK-47 that would run for forever. Those days are done and gone, and we're honest about the prolific rise of the AK-47 as kind of the major competitor to the AR in the US market. It all has to do with that timing and what the guns were going for at the time. Now, if you want to get a premium quality made AK-47, you're talking like $1,500, $2,000, somewhere in there. Talking like a Rifle Dynamics, a Krebs Custom, something like that, an ODS 1775 from Occam Defense, something like those guns that are going to cost you real money. And you could, technically speaking, if you wanted to go AR, $1,500, $2,000 buys a lot of AR-15 these days. So I'm not saying, I know that the title of the video and the content of this video makes it sound as though the AK is inferior. I don't believe that at all. I just think that we need to understand that we are talking about a rifle that was designed 20 years prior to the standard of measure that we currently use in the United States for the way a rifle should be, which is the AR-15. So anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I know that many of you did not. Let me know about it in the comment section down below. I'd love to have a conversation with you guys about this. Thanks for watching the VSO Gun Channel, and hopefully we'll see you guys on a future video.